What's on your mind, sir?
I, I wanted to ask you about the I don't know if you saw Jake Tapper was connected with a book coming out soon about the Biden cover up. I thought you were going to write that book, Mark, and I wanted to get the panel's thoughts on it. Switching gears from the Doge conversation, but where were these people over the last 4 years? Jake Tapper was the one saying Biden's skills were top notch. He was sharp, and now years later wants to come around and say
Yeah.
we were part of the we knew things that we didn't know, and kind of telling this expose tell all. I thought I thought you were gonna be the author of that book.
Yeah. Stay tuned. Hold
Yeah,
on.
stay tuned.
Alex, first question to you. Short answer. How do you say chutzpah in Cuban Spanish?
Coño.
Okay. Adam, what is your perspective on whether the White House press corps and the Washington press corps in general participated in passively or actively in a cover up of Joe Biden's acuity decline? What's your perspective on that question?
It seems like from most of the reporting I've read that yeah, they put up a bubble around him during the COVID era and never quite took that bubble down.
And what do you think their motive was? Like
Um,
seems like a pretty good story if you're a reporter to say, hey, the president of the United States is going through severe acuity decline covered up at the highest levels of our government. So why wouldn't the reporters have pursued that story doggedly?
why wouldn't the reporters have pursued it? I think that because the admin covered it up, as you said, you have to understand that. I'm sure you understand that people who work for an admin are incentivized to keep their position in any way possible, and if that means hiding their boss's decline, but at the same time, I still don't think the decline is as bad as a lot of people say. I mean, yes, he got old and old and old, but I've seen clips of him. Like, I want to ask you, Mark, do you think that Biden on the debate night is Biden like every single day, or was he uniquely bad that night?
Good moments and bad moments. He had moments equally bad. For instance, he talked to a dead congresswoman in public
Okay, but
at an event intended to commemorate her passing. He tried to speak to her and asked where she was. So that to me is worse than a debate
Mark,
because
I,
it's an
Mark,
I
I,
like I
Mark, I
like
think
Jake
that's
Tapper.
unfair. I think that's unfair, Mark. A lot of them are dead.
yeah. As
So
you
I
know.
like Jake Tapper personally. I like him as a writer. I am not he has set himself a challenge. And he has been gifted by the response that came out from the minute that he announced that he and Alex Thompson were producing this book that is supposed to come out in 2 months, which is if that book does not go into some detail about the role of the media in the cover up, it will be an intellectual, political, and a repertorial disgrace. If
John,
it does,
do you know how to say Shonda in Cuban Spanish?
and,
coño.
and his role.
And his
Yeah.
role. Well, that's what
Yeah.
I mean. And I
Well,
mentioned
no,
this,
you said the media generally. Alex is saying
and
it must
Alex is saying
address
his
his
role
specific role.
particularly. And I will give you, and I think Mark, you'll agree with me that there is a model that you could potentially follow here, which is when George Stephanopoulos wrote his memoir of his time in the Clinton White House, All Too Human.
All too human, a draft of which I once left in a Korean deli.
Oh, that's a good story.
It is a good
Anyway,
story. Go ahead.
that George went after himself,
Yeah.
talked about his own arrogance, talked about the mistakes that he had made, talked about what happened inside that meant that he did not feel like he was telling people untruths to further the administration's goals and aims and things like that and covering up the chaos. There is a world in which Jake Tapper, if he wants that book to be something that people will not only buy now, but will cite 25 years from now, he
Right.
will, and Alex Thompson will go into detail
Right.
about the
So here,
media's
okay,
behavior.
but here's what's confusing.
I don't think, yeah,
Alex Thompson is one of the few reporters who tried to cover this story. Okay. So he's now attached himself to someone who does not have that same record.
right.
And I would say that any reporter who did anything related to the Biden White House, who didn't aggressively try to cover this story, I don't care what you say about it now, there's no accounting for the professional malpractice that took place.
Yes,
No,
there
no,
is.
There isn't. There's no
Totally.
accounting for it.
I'll account for it.
Resignation.
Oh,
No, I'm saying
if
there's
you
no
want accountability,
yes,
I can account
accountability.
for it.
No, there's no moral or professional thing you can do to justify the failure. There isn't.
No, here's what you do though. What people expect from you in a situation like that is, look, we know we're all imperfect. We know we all make mistakes. I've made a few, not many. When what people expect is you not only admit you did that, but that you learn and you grow and you're better for
Alex, what is a
what he
in
has to do.
your career before you became largely retired, a man of leisure on a boat? What would be the professional malpractice equivalent in your profession as a Republican strategist of what the Washington media did in participating in the cover-up and allowing themselves to be intimidated? I can't think of anything.
I can't either.
Right. So my point is, you say
Here's
admit
the thing.
mistakes. This
Let-
wasn't like I didn't
we
put a
have
comma
no-
in. I
Yeah,
didn't put a comma in, or I burned a source. This is
It may have been-
years. This is years. Sorry to filibuster. This is years of professional malpractice against the public interest to stop Donald Trump from being elected.
Well, that's it.
yeah.
You said there's no accounting for it. That's the account for it. The accounting for it was that
That's the
the press, the
explanation.
media was
That's
in
the
on.
explanation, but that's
Right,
not
that is-
accountability.
right.
But that's
No,
not
it's not
accountability.
accountability. But the
Yeah.
reason that they did it, and the reason that they covered it up, and the reason that the fates and karma and God, whatever, punished them with the 2024 election results, is that they believed that it was the moral and proper and appropriate thing to do, to put their finger on the scale, to hide the truth that they knew, because the result, if they could do it and push Biden over the finish line,
Right. Was
Trump
what they
would be
wanted.
prevented from getting
What they
back
wanted.
into power.
Can I
Adam, let's hear from Adam.
can I ask a question really quickly?
Yeah.
I feel like the amount of you guys are downplaying the amount of coverage there was on Biden's age. First of all, if you look at just right-wing media spheres, they were talking about Biden's age relentlessly. But I just found something saying in the last 5 months of 2023, there were 10 times as many articles focused on Biden's age or mental acuity as most articles written on.
You're conflating age and mental acuity. They're not the same.
It says age or mental acuity. Yeah,
Most of them were about age.